Hello, everyone out in YouTube video land. Welcome to Sunset Builders and Maintenance Podcast. Today, we're going to talk about some common maintenance issues with your homes and maybe touch on some light construction work. I'm joined today by Jenny. She is a project manager for Sunset Builders and Maintenance, but today she's going to pretend like one of our customers, and she's going to ask a series of questions that she's well qualified for because she's a homeowner herself, and I'm going to give me a chance to answer those questions for you. All right, so with that being said, Jenny, take it away.
Hi, thank you, Mark. My first question is, how would I unclog my jammed garbage disposal?
Jammed garbage disposal, starting off dirty right out of the gate. Common question. We get this call quite a bit. Most people don't understand that under the garbage disposal, there's a reset button. Before you call anybody else, I would suggest that you go down there and reset that button. It could be an electrical trip in the garbage disposal itself, and hitting that reset button will be the simplest and easiest thing that you can do. Another thing that's a little bit more complicated, but if you were paying attention when the garbage disposal was installed, they send you a little hex key with the garbage disposal, and there's a slot right in the middle on the bottom of that garbage disposal. And if you stick that hex key up in there and spin the blades a few times, if there's anything clogging the garbage disposal up from the top, that spinning action will sometimes free it up. Next in the list of things that are easy that you could possibly do as a homeowner, some garbage disposals are plugged into a ground fault interrupter circuit under your sink. And sometimes that garbage disposal will start working really hard and it'll pop that circuit. Look under your sink and see if you have one of those fancy electrical outlets and push that reset button and see if that solves your problem. Last but not least, this one is probably the most difficult or dangerous, and I don't recommend that you do this by yourself. First step is to turn the power off to your circuit breaker in the panel. Second step, take a flashlight and insert 2 fingers into that rubber gasket so you can open the garbage disposal up a little bit and shine your flashlight down inside of there and see if there's something that's clogging up those wheels from spinning. A lot of times spoons will drop into the sink in the garbage disposal and you don't know that they're down there and that blade is locked up against one of those spoons. If you see something like that, get a partner to help you with some long tweezers and see if you can dislodge that spoon. That would be the last homeowner thing that I would recommend that you do. If none of those options solve your problem, you're probably looking at replacing your garbage disposal. What do you got next, Jenny?
How do you seal gaps near windows and doors?
Windows and doors. Yeah, it's cold down here right now, strangely enough, so everybody's trying to get some energy efficiency going on. I recommend my homeowners do a complete house walkthrough once or twice a year, looking for areas of their home that need to be touched up. And one area that we always find when customers call us out to do this are gaps in the caulking on the window. For windows, you use 2 different types of caulking depending upon where you're working. On the inside of your window, you would want to use a latex paintable caulk. Alex Plus is a big one. It's sold by all of the big box stores. On the outside of your window, you want to use a silicone or a urethane-based caulk, and you want to use one or the other exclusively. Don't put one on and then use the other one. If you're not sure, it's a bit of a task, but you can cut away the old silicone or old urethane caulk and redo the entire window. It will be fine. The best of the 2 exterior caulks that I mentioned is the urethane. It has a much longer lifespan. It tends not to yellow over time like silicone does, and that's the one that Sunset uses.
Thank you. How do you repair small holes in drywall?
I call Sunset. No. How do we repair small holes in drywall? There's a ton of YouTube videos on this, and there's about 10 or 15 different ways to repair holes in drywall. What you want to do is, a lot of people like to keep the holes small, but it's no different to repair a small hole as it is to repair a bigger one. It's just easier to work on the bigger one, in my opinion. And if you're repairing a small hole, you're going to have a hump almost every time that's very visible. Whereas if you open that hole up a little bit, those edges kind of get spread out over a bigger space, and maybe you're not going to notice that patch job. Regardless of what size hole you decide to work with, square it up. Get yourself a level, some straight edge that you can work with, and draw straight lines around your crack or around the hole, and cut it out with a utility knife, a drywall saw, or the most popular tool right now, a multi-tool. Be advised, the multi-tool does create some dust, and drywall dust goes everywhere, so be ready for that. When you're cutting your drywall out, don't stick your knife as far through the drywall as you can. There might be electrical cords or some plumbing pipes back there, so try to just get it to where it goes just through the drywall, and that's good enough. So square up your hole, step number one. Step number two would be to what we call put some dead wood or in the opening, so that you can put your patch on there and it won't go anywhere. Dead wood is an old piece of 1x2 framing lumber of some sort. I don't recommend that you use pressure treated, but it is inside the wall. It's probably not going to be that bad for you. White wood is your best go-to option. And you're going to get a piece of wood that's longer than your hole, and you're going to slide it up in there and pull it down so that more hangs over the opening, and you're just going to shoot a drywall screw through the drywall into the dead wood. And I would do that on two sides so that my patch can hold in there nice and securely. Go get yourself a piece of drywall from Home Depot or Lowe's or your favorite home goods store. Cut it to the size that you need. Set it in your opening. Put a couple of drywall screws in it, and your hole is roughly covered up. The next step is to get some drywall tape. When I'm patching holes, I like to personally use the mesh tape, but you can use the paper tape. They both work fine. Your preference, your call. I like to also use hot mud, is what it's referred to in the industry, but you'll see it on the shelves as 15, 30, or 45-minute mud. That's the setting time. When you mix that powder up with water, you have whatever number is on that bag to work with the mud. The benefits of using hot mud is that you can put 2 or 3 coats of mud on that hole in the course of a couple of hours. And if you are in a rush, you can get your hole patched pretty fast. If you don't care about time, get yourself some ready mix drywall compound. I like to put a little bit of water in my ready mix to smooth it up. Think of like pancake batter, something like that. Get it nice and creamy, and then take your knife and start covering up your tape. Depending upon the size of the hole you want to wind up, it's going to take you 2 or 3 coats. You're not going to get this right on the first time. So start with a small run, and then the next coat, go a little bit bigger, go a little bit bigger. Smooth your edges out with your taping knife after you've got all your mud on there, and you're well on your way to patching a hole in your wall. If you make a mistake, if you leave a ridge in the drywall compound, leave it alone. You can take a sponge after it dries completely and wet the sponge and wring it out so it's not dripping wet, and rub that edge down. It'll go away with a matter of a few strokes. Great question.
Very interesting. Thank you. What can I do about a constantly running toilet?
Constantly running toilet. So in this case, your fill valve, which is the part that raises up to allow the water to come out of your tank when you flush it, is not seating properly down at the bottom. There's a couple of new types of fill valves out there. There's the old flapper type that you might be familiar with. Now they have one that's a cylinder tube that's got a large gasket underneath of it. And when you flush the chain over there, that lever, it pulls that tube up and it lets the water come out. It'll hold in place for a little while until the majority of the water leaves the tank, and then it falls down and it seats over the drain hole. What happens here in Florida is we have some pretty hard water, and you'll find little calcifications that form on the seat ring of that flush tube. So the simple fix is to flush the toilet, turn the water off so that the toilet doesn't fill back up, and take your finger and run it around that ring. And you're looking for, you'll feel them. They feel like little rocks, a little bit bigger than sand sometimes, but just take your finger. When you feel those things, just rake them off. They'll pop right off. And then you might want to take a damp rag and run it around that seal one more time. But eventually you'll get them all cleaned off, and that should take care of your problem. Great question. What's next?
One last question. Should I be concerned about flickering lights?
Flickering lights, yes, you should, depending upon what kind of light it is. The old fluorescent tubes have a tendency to flicker when they first turn on. and I wouldn't necessarily be concerned with that, although it might be an indication that it's time to change those bulbs. The LEDs or the old incandescent light bulbs, if you see those lights flickering, it could be a sign of age, but it also could be a sign that there's a short somewhere in that circuit. It's not uncommon to have rats running around in your attic, and they love to chew on the wiring insulation. You're going to notice more than one light. If that's the problem, you're going to notice more than one light in your house that's flickering. It could be the wiring for the light itself has just gotten bad over time. It might be time to get yourself a new light. It is an indication that more than likely there's something that you need to look into. What else do you have for us, Jenny?
That was the last one I had.
That was your last question for the day. Well, great. That's awesome, folks. The purpose of our show is to offer you a little bit of education about what we do out in the field, what we can do for you. Sunset Builders offers a maintenance program. We take care of all of the little things. There's no job too small or too big. We do full renovations. Are you ready for a new bathroom or a new kitchen? Give us a call. We're located at 15271 McGregor Boulevard, suite number 3, right next to our sister company, Salty Papa Shrimp House. So you can come and get some awesome shrimp and talk to us about your next remodeling project. We look forward to seeing you in the field, folks. Have a good day.